What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Unofficial Pre Fight Show. This weekend we have UFC 272, Colby Covington versus Jorge Masvidal. Let's get started. So this weekend we have the much anticipated grudge match between Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal. And when I look at this fight, as much as I like Jorge Masvidal and I would love to say that he's going to get the win, I just think stylistically Colby Covington is a terrible matchup for him. He's a great wrestler who's got unbelievable cardio and can put a pace on guys that just never really lets them get settled or into any kind of a rhythm. Now, Jorge Masvidal does have that eraser power where he can land a power shot and end any welterweight's night with one shot, but I can't pick him just banking on the fact that he might land that power strike that's going to knock out Colby Covington. I also think that when we look at the welterweight division in the UFC, next to Kamaru Usman, who's the champ, there's really no argument who the number one contender is and who the best fighter in the division is next to the champ. It's Colby Covington. So we're going to go with him on this one. I got to say, I hope I'm wrong, but I think Colby Covington gets the victory. In the co-main event this weekend, we have Rafael dos Anjos taking on Renato Moicano. This is going to take place at a catch weight of 160 pounds. That's because Renato Moicano is taking the fight on 5 days' notice, replacing Rafael Fiziev, who pulled out due to COVID just on Monday. Now, looking at this fight, we have two guys who are at very different places in their career. RDA, of course, is the former lightweight champ, has been fighting in the UFC since 2008, and recently made the move back down to lightweight from welterweight and got a split decision win over Paul Felder in 2020. Renato Moicano is a fighter in his prime who recently made the adjustment and the move up from featherweight to lightweight, has gone 3-1 at lightweight, and is coming off an impressive submission win over Alexander Hernandez just last month. Now, there's a lot of people out there saying that RDA is too old, and although I would agree that the guy is past his prime and likely won't win another UFC title within his career, you got to remember that Rafael dos Anjos at one point was universally seen as the best lightweight on the planet. And although he is getting up there in age, the guy is still a legitimate threat at lightweight. I see him having the size and power advantage over Renato. I also see him having the grappling advantage. Both of these guys are really well-rounded fighters, and I will say both have exceptional grappling skills. Although I do see RDA having the better wrestling and the better jiu-jitsu. We're going to go with RDA on this one. Should be a fun fight. Next up on the card, we have Edson Barbosa versus Bryce Mitchell. This is that classic grappler versus striker kind of matchup. Both guys are going to have very clear game plans and paths to victory in this bout. If Edson Barbosa can keep this fight on the feet, could be a long night for Bryce Mitchell. Alternatively, if Bryce Mitchell can consistently take Edson Barbosa down, it could be a frustrating and long night for Edson Barbosa. Bryce Mitchell competed on the Ultimate Fighter Season 27, is an undefeated featherweight, and has gone 5-0 in the UFC. Edson Barbosa, on the other hand, is a UFC vet, has competed in the UFC 26 times, both at featherweight and lightweight, and arguably has some of the most explosive and dynamic kicks in the UFC organization. This fight's all going to come down to who can implement their game plan best. And I am going to go with the underdog on this one. Edson Barbosa, I think he lands his leg kicks, lands his strikes effectively, and that's really going to affect the movement of Bryce Mitchell, which will in turn affect his ability to tie up Barbosa and consistently take him down. This fight, we're going to go with Edson Barbosa. Next up, we have Kevin Holland versus Alex Oliveira, two guys that have a combined 34 finishes in their professional MMA careers. Alex Oliveira is coming off of 3 losses in a row. Chances are, if he loses this fight, he will likely be released by the UFC. Kevin Holland, on the other hand, started off great in his UFC career, was able to rattle off a bunch of wins, but is also coming off of 2 losses in a row. Both of these fighters kind of have their backups against the wall, and this is a must-win situation for both of these guys. Kevin Holland has a 4.5-inch reach advantage. I see him using that reach advantage effectively. He's a dynamic striker, and his unconventional striking style I see giving some major problems to Alex Oliveira. So we're going to go with Kevin Holland on this one. I do see him getting the W, although looking at the odds at this fight, I don't think the odd makers are giving Alex Oliveira enough respect. He's a plus 200 underdog. I think this is going to be a lot more competitive than what some of the odd makers are making it out to be. However, we are going to go with Kevin Holland, the favorite. And the last fight we're going to review on today's card is a heavyweight bout between Sergey Spivak and Greg Hardy. This should be a fun fight. Greg Hardy kind of took the fast track to the UFC. He actually made his professional MMA debut on Dana White's Contender Series back in 2018. Shortly thereafter was signed by the UFC and made his UFC debut in 2019. He's an ex-NFL Pro Bowler and has really kind of relied on that athleticism to get him through his career at this point. He is evolving and developing as a fighter, is committed to becoming the best fighter he can be. But at the end of the day, there's only so much you can learn when you pick up combat sports at a later age. Sergey Spivak, on the other hand, is a well-rounded fighter, has had his moments in the UFC, and although he's looked good, he seems to come up short when he fights the promising fighters in the division. Looking at Greg Hardy's career, it's pretty clear on how you beat this guy. When you take him down and put him on his back, he's like a fish out of water. So the question is going to be, can Sergey consistently take him down, or at least get some effective takedowns within the fight and keep him on the ground? If he can, he'll likely get a clear path to victory, and I see him winning the fight. If not, could be a major problem for him, because Greg Hardy, as mentioned, is a world-class athlete. He's explosive, and he can knock you out. The guy's got six knockouts out of his 7 wins, and can shut the lights out on any heavyweight. When I look at this fight, I am going to go with Sergey Spivak, though. I think that just his ability to control the clinch, get his takedowns, and at the end of the day, he is a much more well-rounded fighter than Greg Hardy, so I see him getting the win. And that's a wrap for this episode of the Unofficial Pre Fight Show. Enjoy the fights this weekend. We'll see you next week.